When American troops are in trouble, they don't call for the newest stealth fighter or the fastest jet. They call for the A10 Warthog. This battle-scarred veteran has survived direct hits from missiles, saved countless American lives, and earned a reputation as the most effective close air support aircraft ever built. But in 2024, the Air Force is rushing to retire its entire Warthog fleet. Today, we're exposing the truth behind this controversial decision and why it could fundamentally change how America fights its future wars. The A-10's final battle. After defending American troops for half a century, the A-10 is facing its toughest fight yet. Not against enemy forces, but against its own Air Force leadership. Since 2014, the Air Force has tried 5 times to retire this legendary aircraft. Each time, Congress stepped in to save it, backed by an army of veterans, ground troops, and military experts who insisted that losing the A-10 would put American lives at risk. But in 2023, something changed. For the first time in decades, Congress blinked. The National Defense Authorization Act, the law that sets our military's annual budget, included permission to begin retiring the Warthog fleet. The first casualties were 21 A-10s from the proud 122nd Fighter Wing at Fort Wayne Air National Guard Base in Indiana, a unit that had been defending American interests since World War II. The 122nd's commander, Colonel Joshua Wagoner, captured the bittersweet moment. These aircraft have served our nation with distinction for almost 50 years. The men and women who maintained and flew them have written an incredible chapter in American military history. With this first wave of retirements, the Air Force's fleet of Warthogs dropped from 281 to 260 aircraft. But that was just the beginning. By 2024, the retirement plan shifted into high gear. Davis-Monthan Air Force Base in Arizona, long considered the spiritual home of the A-10, watched as 36 of their Warthogs made their final taxi to the boneyard right in their backyard at the 309th Aerospace Maintenance and Regeneration Group. Down in Georgia, Moody Air Force Base bid farewell to 6 more. These cuts slashed the fleet to just 218 aircraft, less than a third of the 716 A-10s originally built. The pace of retirement is unprecedented. As then Air Force Chief of Staff and current Joint Chiefs Chairman Charles Brown announced in March 2023, "We expect to send all remaining A-10s to the boneyard by 2028 or 2029. Looking ahead to 2025, the Air Force plans to retire another 56 Warthogs. That's about 20% of the remaining fleet in a single year. The last A-10s in South Korea, which have long stood guard against North Korean armor, are being replaced by upgraded F-16 Fighting Falcons equipped with new 5th-generation-like software. The Air Force is moving so quickly to retire these aircraft, you'd think they're worried Congress might change its mind. And given the Warthog's history of political survivability, having dodged retirement attempts in 2014, 2015, 2016, and 2017, that concern isn't without merit. Remember, this is an aircraft that Congress has saved more times than it's been shot down in combat. What makes this retirement push different is its systematic nature. The Air Force isn't just parking a few planes. They're dismantling entire A-10 communities. The remaining 40 A-10s at Davis-Monthan are already slated for retirement, and maintenance pipelines are being shut down. As one senior maintenance officer put it, when you start taking apart the infrastructure that supports an aircraft, that's when you know this is for real. The impact goes beyond just numbers. Each retiring A-10 squadron represents decades of accumulated expertise in close air support. Knowledge passed down from veteran pilots to newcomers, maintenance crews who know every inch of these machines, and a support structure built around the unique capabilities of this aircraft. Lieutenant Colonel Michael Juice Sadler, a veteran A-10 pilot with over 3,000 hours in the cockpit, explains, "When you lose a squadron, you're not just losing aircraft, you're losing a brotherhood, a culture, and decades of hard-won wisdom about how to keep our troops on the ground alive." But to understand why this retirement is so controversial, and why it matters to every American who cares about our troops' safety, we need to go back to where it all began. Back to a time when America was learning hard lessons about close air support in the jungles of Vietnam, and a group of innovative engineers dared to break every rule in the book to create what would become one of the most successful combat aircraft in history. Birth of a legend. The story of the A-10 begins in the crucible of the Vietnam War, during a time when America was learning painful lessons about close air support. In the mid-1960s, the Air Force was enamored with speed and technology. Their premier fighters, the F-105 Thunder Chief and F-4 Phantom II, were magnificent machines designed to deliver nuclear weapons and dominate the skies at supersonic speeds. But in the dense jungles of Vietnam, these fast movers revealed a critical flaw. They were simply too fast to effectively support troops on the ground. Picture this. It's 1966, and American troops are engaged in fierce jungle combat. They call for air support, but when those supersonic fighters arrive, they're moving so fast, over 500 miles per hour, that pilots can barely distinguish friend from foe. In the time it takes to make one attacking pass, the jets have covered miles of territory, forcing them to make wide turns and leaving troops vulnerable for precious minutes. The military tried everything. They brought back World War II-era planes like propeller-driven T-28D and B-26 Marauder. These old warbirds could fly slow enough to spot targets, but they were sitting ducks for enemy anti-aircraft fire. The closest thing to a solution was the rugged A-1 Skyraider, nicknamed the Spad by its pilots. It could loiter over the battlefield for hours and carry an impressive 8,000 pounds of ordnance, but it was already out of production and couldn't handle modern threats. Meanwhile, across the Atlantic, military planners were facing an even more daunting challenge. Intelligence reports showed massive Soviet tank formations poised to roll through Europe's Fulda Gap if the Cold War ever turned hot. We're not talking about scattered vehicles. These were armored columns stretching for miles, with the latest T-62 tanks protected by mobile anti-aircraft weapons. NATO forces would be outnumbered nearly 3-1. They needed something new, an aircraft specifically designed to stop these tank formations in their tracks. This clash of requirements finally came to a head in 1966. Air Force Chief of Staff General John P. McConnell, recognizing the writing on the wall, launched what was called the AX program. The requirements were unlike anything the aerospace industry had seen before. Build an aircraft that could loiter over the battlefield for extended periods, survive direct hits from anti-aircraft fire, and carry enough firepower to stop a Soviet armored division in its tracks. But here's where the story takes its most fascinating turn. Instead of just asking for another fast jet with bombs, the Air Force did something revolutionary. They designed the entire aircraft around a massive gun. The GU-8 Avenger cannon wasn't just any weapon. It was a 30mm monster that made other aircraft guns look like pea shooters. Each depleted uranium round was the size of a milk bottle, and it could fire 3,900 of them per minute with enough force to punch through the armor of any Soviet tank. The gun was so massive, 19 feet long and weighing over 4,000 pounds, that it actually determined how the rest of the aircraft would be built. The front landing gear had to be offset to the right because the gun barrel needed to be aligned with the aircraft's centerline. The gun's recoil force was so powerful, about 10,000 pounds, that it could actually slow the aircraft down in flight. As one engineer put it, "We didn't build an airplane and put a gun in it. We built a gun and wrapped an airplane around it." 6 aircraft manufacturers stepped up to the challenge, but it was Fairchild Republic that won the contract in 1973 with a design that violated practically every rule of conventional aircraft design. Their prototype, which would become the A-10, looked nothing like the sleek fighters of its day. With its straight wings, twin engines mounted high on the fuselage, and that massive gun protruding from its nose, one test pilot famously described it as ugly enough to be beautiful. The price tag for this new warrior? A mere $1.4 million per aircraft in 1970 dollars, about $13.5 million today. That might sound like a lot, but consider this. It was significantly cheaper than the $1.9 million F-4 Phantom II, and it could carry the same amount of weapons while adding that massive tank-killing cannon. But Fairchild didn't just build a flying gun platform. They created what might be the most survivable aircraft ever made. The A-10's cockpit is surrounded by a 1,200-pound bathtub of titanium armor, capable of withstanding direct hits from 23mm anti-aircraft shells. Every critical system has a backup. Hydraulics, flight controls, even the pilot's flight instruments. The 2 engines are mounted high on the fuselage, not just to protect them from ground fire, but so mechanics could work on one while the other kept running. Combat legend. The A-10's chance to prove itself came in 1991 during Operation Desert Storm. In what became known as the Highway of Death, Warthog pilots found themselves facing exactly what they'd trained for: columns of Iraqi armor trying to escape Kuwait. The results were devastating. In just 6 weeks of combat, A-10s destroyed 987 tanks, 926 artillery pieces, 1,355 combat vehicles, and even managed to shoot down 2 Iraqi helicopters, the only aerial gun kills of the entire conflict. Even more impressive was the A-10's survivability. Despite flying more than 8,100 combat sorties, often at low altitude, right into the teeth of enemy fire, only 6 A-10s were lost. Another 14 returned to base despite heavy damage, riddled with hundreds of bullet holes but still flying. As one Desert Storm pilot put it, you could punch holes in a Warthog all day long and it would just keep coming back for more. But perhaps the most dramatic demonstration of the A-10's legendary toughness came in April 2003 during Operation Iraqi Freedom. Captain Kim Campbell, callsign Killer Chick, was providing close air support near Baghdad when her A-10 took a direct hit from a surface-to-air missile. The blast knocked out all hydraulics, severely damaged one engine, and destroyed the redundant flight control systems. In any other aircraft, this would have been a death sentence. But the A-10 was built differently. Campbell switched to manual controls, literally pulling cables with her own strength to move the flight surfaces. For over an hour, she wrestled her battle-damaged Warthog through the sky, flying more than 100 miles back to base. When she finally landed, mechanics counted over 200 holes in her aircraft. She emerged without a scratch and earned the Distinguished Flying Cross for her actions. The evolution of the A-10 continued through the decades. In the late 1970s, it received the Penny laser targeting system. The 1980s brought the Low-Altitude Safety and Targeting Enhancement LASTE upgrade, adding computerized weapon aiming equipment and ground collision warning systems. By 2005, the entire fleet underwent the Precision Engagement Program, transforming them into A-10C models with digital cockpits, smart bomb capability, and advanced targeting pods. In Afghanistan and Iraq, the A-10 found a new role as a guardian angel for troops on the ground. Its ability to fly low and slow, combined with that massive cannon, made it uniquely effective against insurgent forces. The aircraft could loiter over the battlefield for up to 90 minutes, carrying up to 16,000 pounds of weapons, everything from laser-guided bombs to Maverick missiles. But it was that distinctive sound of the Gu-8 cannon that truly struck fear into enemy hearts. Taliban fighters would often break contact immediately upon hearing it. As one Marine Corps veteran recalled, "When you're pinned down by enemy fire, that sound is better than any symphony. It means the enemy is about to have a very, very bad day." The numbers tell the story. In Iraq and Afghanistan combined, A-10s flew over 32% of all combat sorties between 2006 and 2013, more than any other aircraft type. Even as recently as 2015, these aging warriors proved crucial in destroying more than 100 ISIS oil tankers as part of Operation Tidal Wave 2. What made the A-10 truly special wasn't just its firepower or durability, it was its ability to operate anywhere, anytime. Unlike modern stealth fighters that need pristine runways, the Warthog could operate from dirt strips and damaged airfields. Its simple design meant maintenance crews could keep it flying with basic tools and spare parts. As one crew chief noted, "Give me a wrench set and some duct tape and I can keep a Warthog in the fight." The A-10's real worth was measured not in the targets it destroyed, but in the American lives it saved. Time and again, when troops were in contact with the enemy, the A-10 would arrive overhead and change the course of battle. Its mere presence was often enough to make enemy forces think twice about attacking. As one Army veteran put it, "When you hear those engines overhead, you know someone up there cares if you live or die. That means everything when you're in the fight." The great debate, retirement or retention. So why does the Air Force want to retire such a proven warrior? Let's break down their arguments, and they're more complex than you might think. First, there's the threat environment. Back in the 1970s, the A-10's primary mission was taking on Soviet tanks rolling through European valleys. The biggest threats were anti-aircraft guns and early shoulder-fired missiles. Today, we're looking at a whole different ballgame. China has built what military experts call an anti-access area denial zone. Imagine a 1,000 10,000-mile bubble filled with advanced radar systems and missiles that can hit targets from extreme distances. Air Force Chief of Staff Charles Brown paints a sobering picture. In a conflict over Taiwan, our aircraft would face the most sophisticated air defense network ever created. Their PL-15 air-to-air missiles can strike from over 100 miles away, while modern surface-to-air missiles use advanced radar systems that can track multiple targets simultaneously. An A-10, flying at its maximum speed of 439 miles per hour, would be detected and targeted long before it could reach its effective combat range. Then there's the cost factor. While the A-10 was designed to be affordable, age is taking its toll. In 2007, just the wing replacement program alone cost $2 billion, roughly $2.8 billion in today's dollars. Each A-10 now requires an average of 45 maintenance hours per flying hour, compared to just 25 hours a decade ago. Some parts are so old that the Air Force has to custom manufacture them, driving costs even higher. The Air Force also points to changing battlefield technology. The war in Ukraine offers a glimpse of future combat, where small, cheap drones are destroying tanks and armored vehicles, the very targets the A-10 was built to engage. These drones can loiter for hours, cost a fraction of what it takes to fly an A-10, and don't risk a pilot's life. Modern precision weapons have also changed the game. An F-35 can drop a laser-guided bomb with pinpoint accuracy from 40,000 feet, while staying safely out of range of enemy defenses. The Air Force argues that getting down in the weeds to strafe targets, as the A-10 does, unnecessarily risks both aircraft and pilot. But critics aren't buying these arguments. From combat veterans to congressional leaders, a chorus of voices warns that retiring the A-10 could leave a dangerous gap in America's military capabilities. The Project on Government Oversight, POGO, recently dropped a bombshell. Their investigation revealed that F-35 pilots received virtually no training in close air support, the A-10's specialty. The October 2022 training documents showed zero requirements for the kind of low-altitude, close coordination missions that are crucial for supporting troops in contact. This hits close to home for many military experts. They remember a dark chapter in Air Force history, the Korean War, when the rush to retire World War II-era attack aircraft left ground troops without adequate air support. Only the Navy's planes performed the job effectively. The A-10 was specifically designed to prevent this history from repeating itself. Combat veterans challenge the Air Force's vision of future warfare as too narrow. Not every conflict will be against China or Russia, argues retired Colonel John Smith. Look at the last 50 years. Vietnam, Iraq, Afghanistan. We need aircraft that can operate in all environments, not just high-tech scenarios. The cost argument also draws skepticism. Yes, maintaining the A-10 fleet is expensive, but compared to what? The F-35's hourly operating cost is nearly double that of the A-10. When you factor in the F-35's complex maintenance requirements and its need for pristine bases, the cost comparison becomes less clear-cut. A-10 veterans also challenge the Air Force's logic about operations in the Pacific Theater. They point out a critical flaw. In any conflict with China, the first targets would be major air bases. Those pristine runways the F-35 needs, they'll be cratered by missile strikes. But the A-10 was built for this scenario. It can operate from highway strips and damaged airfields, a capability no other American aircraft possesses. Then there's the matter of close air support itself. The Air Force argues that precision-guided munitions can do the same job from high altitude. But combat veterans point out crucial differences. 1. Response time. When troops are in contact with the enemy, waiting 15 minutes for a smart bomb isn't always an option. The A-10's cannon can respond in seconds. 2. Endurance. The A-10 can loiter a battlefield for up to 90 minutes, carrying 16,000 pounds of weapons. An F-35, with its stealth requirements, can't match this endurance or payload. 3. Psychological impact. The mere sound of an A-10's gun has been known to end firefights immediately. As one Afghanistan veteran recalled, the Taliban would break contact as soon as they heard that sound. No smart bomb has ever had that effect. 4. Flexibility. In complex environments with civilians present, the A-10's ability to make multiple passes with precise cannon fire often proves safer than dropping bombs. The debate ultimately comes down to a fundamental question. In our rush to prepare for tomorrow's high-tech conflicts, are we leaving ourselves vulnerable to the kinds of fights we're most likely to face? As retired General James Conway, former Commandant of the Marine Corps, put it? The A10 is the best friend an American soldier ever had. Before we retire it, we better be damn sure we can provide the same level of support with something else. Whether stored in the Arizona desert, serving with foreign allies, or helping train future pilots, one thing's certain: the A-10 Thunderbolt II has earned its place among American military legends. Like the P-51 Mustang and B-17 Flying Fortress before it, the Warthog will be remembered not just for what it could do, but for the American lives it saved and the enemies it deterred. As one Air Force veteran noted, you can't replace the A-10 with the F-35 any more than you can replace a hammer with a Swiss Army knife. Sometimes you just need a hammer. Whether retiring the A-10 proves wise or short-sighted, one thing remains certain: for thousands of American troops whose lives were saved by that distinctive sound overhead, the A-10 Warthog was more than just an aircraft. It was their guardian angel, their saving grace, and a shining example of American military might at its finest.